From Gilbert Arenas' basement arsenal of over 500 firearms that sparked the NBA's biggest gun scandal.
I'll bring you the guns.
I'll bring you a gun. I dare you to shoot me tomorrow.
Are you man enough?
To Ja Morant's Instagram live disasters that cost him millions in 33 games. In this video, we're looking at NBA players with some of the biggest gun collections and the shocking ways those arsenals nearly destroyed their careers. Let's start with Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas wasn't just known for his clutch shooting and trash-talking prowess during his prime with the Washington Wizards. Behind closed doors, the former All-Star was quietly assembling what would become one of the most extensive firearms collections in professional sports history.
My first gun charge.
How I got in trouble was innocent.
I was going to the dentist, and the gun was actually in the car.
Arenas' obsession with firearms began during his college years at the University of Arizona, where he started purchasing guns from his then-girlfriend's father, an avid collector who had been accumulating firearms since the age of 6. This wasn't casual collecting. This was the acquisition of decades worth of weaponry dating back to the 1940s. By the peak of his NBA career, Arenas had amassed over 500 firearms, treating his collection like others might collect luxury cars or rare sneakers. His arsenal included everything from standard handguns to military-style rifles, with some particularly noteworthy pieces like a gold-plated .50 caliber Desert Eagle and a massive .500 Magnum Smith & Wesson revolver that would later play starring roles in NBA infamy. The collection's estimated value reached into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, carefully stored in his home with fortified cabinet doors and advanced security systems. Arenas viewed his hobby with the same methodical approach he brought to basketball, systematically building his collection over years while ensuring everything was legally purchased and properly stored. But this wasn't just about ownership, it was about obsession. Arenas would display his prized pieces throughout his home, sharing photos on social media and with friends like trophies of his passion. What started as casual purchases had evolved into a massive arsenal that would soon become the center of one of the NBA's darkest scandals.
Are you man enough? Do you have 2 of these to shoot me? You ain't got the cojones to do nothing like that. You ain't even built to do nothing like that.
The infamous December 2009 locker room incident with Javaris Crittenton transformed Arenas from quirky collector to cautionary tale. What began as a heated card game on a team flight escalated into Arenas, bringing 4 unloaded guns from his collection to the Wizards' locker room, placing them on Crittenton's chair with a note reading, "Pick 1 inch" as what he claimed was a prank.
Apparently, Gilbert basically said, "Oh, since you said you're gonna shoot me, here's a gun you can shoot me with." And it was like a gold Desert Eagle. Gil means it as a joke.
The aftermath was swift and severe. Arenas pleaded guilty to felony weapons possession, receiving 2 years probation, 30 days in a halfway house, and a 50-game NBA suspension. His career never recovered, and while he sold many guns post-incident, reports suggest he still maintains a significant arsenal today. Kaman. While Gilbert Arenas collected guns like basketball cards, Kaman took firearms ownership to an entirely different level, one that bordered on apocalyptic preparation.
This is the 50 caliber made by Barrett, 10-shot semi-automatic. Quick as you pull the trigger, the bullets come out. As much stuff as we can shoot up, we're gonna shoot up.
The 7-foot center, who spent most of his 13-year NBA career with the Los Angeles Clippers, developed a public persona as the league's most vocal gun enthusiast and amateur survivalist. Kaman's fascination with firearms and survivalism stemmed from his Michigan upbringing, where hunting and outdoor activities were part of daily life. But what set Kaman apart wasn't just ownership, it was his willingness to showcase his collection through social media and self-produced content that turned his hobby into public entertainment. By his early NBA years, Kaman was openly sharing photos of his collection on Twitter, showcasing assault rifles mounted on walls and tactical setups. His arsenal included AR-15 style assault rifles, sniper rifles, and Barrett .50 caliber models, weapons designed for long-range precision and devastating stopping power. The most iconic moment of Kaman's firearms enthusiasm came in July 2009 with his now legendary Barrett .50 caliber video. Filmed outdoors in Michigan, the YouTube clip showed Kaman and friends using a semi-automatic Barrett M82, a one rifle to obliterate a 1988 Ford Taurus. Each cartridge cost $30 per shot, and the group marveled at the explosive damage, with Kaman narrating how the rounds could turn a human into mist.
I got big hands. This is the shell inside my hand. It's bigger than one of my fingers. This is it compared to a normal person's hand. Now we're locked in, we got 10 shots. You can see the obvious damage that it would do to a human.
The video garnered millions of views and perfectly encapsulated his thrill-seeking relationship with high-powered weaponry. But Kaman's most memorable firearms moment came during the 2011 NBA lockout, coinciding with preacher Harold Camping's predicted rapture on May 21st. Kaman live tweeted his preparations, posting, "Just in case anything fishy happens tomorrow, I bought a few more guns," along with photos of scoped rifles rifles, and tactical accessories. When the world didn't end, the tweets went viral, cementing his reputation as the NBA's quirky doomsday prepper. Kaman's firearms enthusiasm extended into his post-playing career with the 2014 Exploring Kaman reality series, a 6-episode web show that followed him on extreme adventures along the California-Mexico coast. The series prominently featured firearm segments, including scenes of Kaman firing assault rifles at targets in the desert and reprising his .50 caliber car destruction antics in Mexico. Unlike many of his peers who faced scrutiny for their gun ownership, Kaman operated in a legal gray area that the NBA never fully addressed. His posts showed him at private ranges and in controlled environments, emphasizing marksmanship and recreation rather than intimidation or recklessness. This distinction became more significant in 2023 when old photos resurfaced during Morant's suspension, highlighting potential double standards in how the league handled different players' firearms displays. Karl Malone. Karl Malone's relationship with firearms represented something fundamentally different from the flashy collections and controversial incidents of his peers. The Hall of Fame power forward's passion for guns was rooted in practical hunting traditions and rural Louisiana values that shaped his entire worldview. Growing up in Summerfield, Louisiana, Malone learned to hunt and fish as family traditions, using firearms as tools for survival and sport rather than symbols of power or status.
So, Karl, you're a big hunter.
Yes, sir.
Right? I've hunted once or twice.
Yeah.
Right? How did you get started in hunting? Is it something that was from birth?
Well, almost.
This practical approach to gun ownership would define his entire relationship with firearms throughout his 19-year NBA career and beyond. During his prime years with the Utah Jazz, Malone regularly escaped to the Wasatch Mountains for elk hunts and Louisiana bayous for deer, often featured in outdoor magazines like Outdoor Life. His arsenal prioritized functionality over volume, bolt-action rifles like Remington 700S for long-range hunting, shotguns for waterfowl, and reliable handguns for personal protection. What truly set Malone apart was his vocal advocacy for responsible gun ownership and Second Amendment rights.
Yes, we're about our Second Amendment, but I'm also about us doing it the right way with our Second Amendment.
Absolutely.
It's a privilege and an honor for me to own a firearms.
Yeah.
He became an NRA spokesperson in the 1990s, joining the organization's board of directors in 2017 and serving as a celebrity face for hunter safety and firearms education. The NRA paid him handsomely for this role, $400,000 from 2015 to 2018 for speeches and events. Malone's most significant public statement on NBA gun culture came in a 2006 ESPN interview, where he criticized the rising trend of players carrying firearms for protection. "I don't know what you need a gun for in the NBA. What are you doing that you want a gun? If you're that scared, maybe you shouldn't be in this league." This stance put him in direct opposition to urban carry culture while maintaining his support for sporting use. The most controversial moment of Malone's firearms advocacy occurred in March 1998 when he revealed plans to carry a concealed handgun on road trips after receiving death threats. Malone held a Utah concealed carry permit and had completed NRA recommended training, stating his distrust in arena security. "I have little faith in that." He carried discreetly without incident, later defending his decision while condemning locker room gun incidents. Following the 2009 Gilbert Arenas scandal, Malone penned an NRA-backed Sports Illustrated op-ed urging athletes to avoid stupid gun antics while defending responsible ownership. "All the years I played, I never heard of anything like this." His balanced approach, supporting rights while criticizing recklessness, positioned him as a voice of reason in increasingly polarized debates. Malone's hunting passion extended to owning a cabin in Alaska for moose and caribou pursuits, blending his love for remote wilderness with ethical harvesting practices. Even in 2024, at age 61, he reflected on hunting's grounding influence. "Even when I was making all that money, I still hunted and fished whenever I could. It keeps you grounded." Jason Williams. Jason Williams' firearm story represents one of the NBA's most tragic cautionary tales, a reminder of how casual gun handling can transform lives in an instant. The former All-Stars collection of sporting firearms, focused on hunting rather than defense, became the centerpiece of a nightmare that destroyed careers and ended a life. Williams' interest in firearms stemmed from his South Carolina upbringing, where hunting was a family tradition that complemented his larger-than-life personality during his 9-year NBA career with the New Jersey Nets. His collection emphasized practical sporting use, 4 12-gauge shotguns for waterfowl and upland game, including a Browning model, plus at least 1.30 .06 hunting rifle for big game.
I mean, in your first book, Loose Balls, I mean, I guess there was 9 different instances about guns in that story.
Right.
So you're starting to see kind of a theme start to develop in your life with Jason Williams and guns.
Yep.
It's a recurring theme.
Stored in his expansive 28-room New Jersey mansion, Williams proudly displayed his arsenal during social gatherings, treating his firearms as conversation pieces that reflected his outdoorsman lifestyle. Friends described his collection as notable, but not excessive, valued more for craftsmanship than quantity. The night of February 14, 2002, forever changed everything. After dining at a Manhattan steakhouse with friends and former teammates, the group returned to Williams's estate around 3 a.m. with limousine driver Costas Gus Christofi waiting outside. Intoxicated with a blood alcohol level estimated at 0.12 comma, Williams invited guests upstairs to view his gun collection in the master bedroom. What happened next was captured in chilling detail through trial testimony. Williams grabbed a loaded Browning 12-gauge shotgun from a cabinet, intending to demonstrate its double-barrel mechanism as a joke. Holding the weapon toward Christofi, who had entered the room curiously, Williams flipped the barrel closed, causing an accidental discharge that struck the 55-year-old father and grandfather in the chest at close range.
I take responsibility. I'm not gonna say somebody did that, and that. I'm supposed to look down the barrel. I was showing people guns. Here goes a gun. Here, look at this one. You know, this coach gave me this. This is beautiful. This. And when I went to snap the gun closed to hand it, I didn't even know that Mr. Christofi was in the house there. The gun went off and hit Mr. Christofi in the chest, and it killed him instantly.
Christofi collapsed near the bed, gurgling blood as Williams screamed, "Oh my God." The panic-stricken former NBA star then made a series of decisions that would compound the tragedy, wiping fingerprints from the gun, placing it in Christofi's hand to stage a suicide, and directing his four companions to align with a false narrative that the driver had mishandled the weapon. The legal aftermath consumed 8 years of Williams' life. Indicted on charges including aggravated manslaughter and evidence tampering, he faced a complex series of trials that included a 2004 mistrial, appeals, and a 2007 retrial that again hung on manslaughter charges. In 2010, Williams finally pleaded guilty to aggravated assault, receiving a 5-year sentence but serving only 18 months at Rikers Island. The Christofi family received a $2.75 million civil settlement, but no amount of money could restore the life lost through Williams' recklessness. The incident forced him to surrender his entire firearms collection, and his felony status permanently barred future ownership. In a 2016 ESPN interview, Williams reflected on that night with devastating honesty. "I was a coward. Selfishness made me try to hide it." His story serves as a stark reminder that firearms ownership carries responsibilities that can't be undone with money, fame, or regret. Ja Morant.
You at the spot, Shotgun Willie's. I've been there. You are holding a gun. And we both know how dangerous that can be. Whose gun were you holding?
Well, the gun wasn't mine. It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take full responsibility for my actions.
No NBA firearms controversy in recent memory generated more headlines, debates, and social media firestorms than Ja Morant's repeated gun displays on Instagram Live. The Memphis Grizzlies superstar's impulsive decisions to flash handguns during live streams transformed him from rising NBA darling to cautionary tale about social media's dangers in the modern athlete era. Morant's exposure to firearms traced back to his South Carolina upbringing, where gun culture was deeply embedded in regional traditions of hunting and self-defense. Unlike the massive collections of peers like Gilbert Arenas, Morant's references to firearms were never about hobby collecting. They reflected urban carry culture and what critics called misguided masculinity influenced by hip-hop aesthetics. The first major incident occurred during a July 2022 AAU game in North Carolina, where Morant was caught on video flashing a dark handgun from his waistband during an argument with a teenage player. The 17-year-old opponent later told media he feared for his life, but the incident resulted in no immediate NBA punishment as social media policies weren't yet strictly enforced. The controversy exploded on March 4th, 2023, when Morant went live on Instagram from Shotgun Willie's strip club in Aurora, Colorado. The 17-second clip showed him dancing while flashing a red-handled handgun, possibly a custom Glock, to the camera while saying "blat." The video was viewed millions of times before Morant deleted it, claiming he was unaware he was broadcasting live. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver's response was swift and severe: an 8-game suspension for conduct detrimental to the league. The punishment highlighted the NBA's heightened sensitivity to gun violence imagery, particularly in the wake of mass shootings across America. But Morant's most shocking moment came just 2 months later on May 13th, 2023, when another Instagram Live session from a car near Memphis showed him flashing what appeared to be a black handgun to the camera. This second incident demonstrated either incredible tone deafness or addiction to social media attention that prioritized instant gratification over career preservation. The NBA's response this time was unprecedented, a 25-game suspension that represented the longest non-drug punishment in league history. The total punishment of 33 games cost Morant millions in salary and endorsement deals, with sponsors like Nike temporarily pausing partnerships. Perhaps most bizarrely, Morant later claimed the second incident involved a toy gun, even filming himself with a replica to prove his story to family members. The explanation was widely mocked on social media and rejected by the NBA, which maintained its suspension. The incident sparked broader conversations about double standards in NBA enforcement, with critics pointing to white players like Kaman, who had posted similar gun content without punishment. The racial dynamics of the controversy added another layer to debates about NBA culture and social media responsibility. Morant returned from suspension on December 19, 2023, scoring 34 points against New Orleans while expressing guilt but no regret about his actions. Yet even his comeback was overshadowed by continued controversy. He was fined $75,000 in July 2025 for repeated finger gun celebrations that the league deemed inappropriate given his history. The Morant saga represents a perfect storm of young athlete impulsivity, social media's permanent visibility, and the NBA's evolving standards for player conduct in an era of heightened gun violence awareness. Sebastian Telfair. Sebastian Telfair's firearms story reads like a Greek tragedy, a tale of unfulfilled potential, poor choices, and the urban street culture that can ensnare even million-dollar athletes. The former Brooklyn basketball prodigy's cache of illegal weapons represented not collecting or hobby, but the dangerous intersection of NBA fame with persistent street ties. Telfair's path to NBA infamy began in the same Brooklyn neighborhoods that produced his cousin Stephon Marbury. Drafted 13th overall by Portland in 2004 straight from Lincoln High School, he carried the weight of enormous expectations and the baggage of street credibility that demanded respect through force. Unlike responsible gun owners who emphasize sport or protection, Telfair's relationship with firearms reflected Brooklyn's survival culture, where weapons were tools for maintaining street credibility and settling disputes. His collection, discovered during 2017 arrests, revealed the dark underbelly of athlete gun ownership. The first bust occurred on June 11, 2017, during a routine traffic stop in East New York. When a K-9 unit alerted to drugs in Telfair's black SUV, police uncovered a shocking arsenal: 3 loaded handguns, 2.40 caliber pistols, and a .380 caliber, a gas-operated semi-automatic submachine gun, over 100 rounds of ammunition, a bulletproof vest, and marijuana packaged for sale. Most damning were the illegal modifications discovered on several weapons, obliterated serial numbers, and high-capacity magazines banned in New York, suggesting street-level armament prepared for urban conflicts rather than legal sport or protection. The diversity of weaponry indicated preparation for various combat scenarios. A month later, another traffic stop yielded a loaded 9mm handgun tucked in his pickup truck's center console, escalating an already serious situation. The repeated discoveries suggested a pattern of illegal carry that had likely continued throughout his post-NBA years. The legal consequences were severe: a 13-count indictment for second-degree criminal possession of weapons among other felonies. In April 2019, Telfair was convicted on the primary weapons charge, with prosecutors using the cache as evidence of his reckless disregard for public safety. Brooklyn DA Eric Gonzalez sentenced the former lottery pick to 3.5 years in prison, noting his prior offenses and complete lack of legal justification for the arsenal. The conviction forfeited all seized firearms and temporarily cost him NBA pension eligibility due to his felony status. Telfair's troubles continued post-release, with a 2024 federal conviction for healthcare fraud that included other former NBA players in a scheme to defraud insurers of $1.2 million. His failure to complete community service led to additional prison time in 2025. The contrast between Telfair's potential and reality was stark, from next Stephon Marbury to repeat felon. His firearms cache represented not the controlled collecting of peers like Karl Malone or Kaman, but the dangerous street culture that can destroy even the most promising athletic careers. As of 2025, Telfair serves his sentence while planning a memoir about his tragic fall from Brooklyn prodigy to cautionary tale, a reminder that NBA fame and millions of dollars can't always overcome the gravitational pull of the streets. Delonte West. Delonte West's firearms incident represents one of the NBA's most heartbreaking examples of how untreated mental illness can transform legal gun ownership into public danger. The former Celtics and Cavaliers guard's 2009 arrest while carrying multiple loaded weapons wasn't about collecting or sport. It was the manifestation of bipolar disorder and paranoid delusions that nearly cost him everything. West's relationship with firearms began in Washington D.C. urban environment, where self-defense was a neighborhood reality that shaped his worldview long before NBA fame. Unlike hobby collectors, West viewed guns as practical protection tools in a world that often felt threatening and hostile. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2008 after exhibiting erratic behavior, West began lithium treatment that created its own challenges. The medication's side effects, described as making him feel zombie-like, blurred his perception of reality and amplified paranoid thoughts that everyone was plotting against him. The night of September 17, 2009, crystallized West's mental health crisis in the most public way possible. Police pulled over his motorcycle with sidecar in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, for speeding at 90 miles per hour in a 55-minute zone, but what they discovered defied explanation. West was literally armed to the teeth, a loaded 9mm Beretta in his waistband, a .357 Ruger revolver strapped inside his boot, a Bowie knife in his pocket, brass knuckles, and most shockingly, a loaded shotgun over 40 inches long, concealed in a guitar case slung across his back. He carried over 100 rounds of ammunition for an imagined threat that existed only in his bipolar-affected mind. West's explanation for the arsenal was heartbreaking in its honesty. "I was hearing voices, felt like the world was against me. The medication designed to help had created paranoid delusions that convinced him he needed overwhelming firepower for protection against non-existent enemies." Perhaps most telling was West's appearance during the arrest, barefoot, wearing only a tank top despite cool weather, and completely disoriented. Officers noted his erratic behavior and incoherent mumbling, classic symptoms of a severe bipolar episode that had been building for days without proper sleep or nutrition. The legal resolution reflected understanding of his mental health crisis. In July 2010, West pleaded guilty to reckless endangerment and weapons violations, receiving 1 year unsupervised probation, 40 hours of community service, and a $500 fine. No jail time, as prosecutors recognized his cooperation and legitimate mental health struggles. The NBA's response was similarly compassionate, allowing his return without suspension. Cavaliers coach Mike Brown praised West's openness about bipolar disorder and integrated counseling into his routine, but the damage to his career was irreversible. West's post-NBA life became a tragic spiral of addiction and homelessness that highlighted America's failures in treating mental illness among former athletes. Multiple rehab attempts, viral homeless sightings, and a 2024 fentanyl overdose that required Narcan revival painted a devastating picture of untreated bipolar disorder's long-term effects. In a 2022 interview, West advocated for mental health awareness with painful insight. "Bipolar is like the rest of us, just amplified," urging the NBA to provide better support systems for players struggling with mental illness. West's story represents the intersection of legal gun ownership, mental health crisis, and systemic failures that can transform a promising athlete into a tragic cautionary tale. Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton's firearms story represents the darkest possible outcome of athlete gun ownership, a promising NBA career destroyed by street violence that ultimately claimed an innocent life. The former Lakers and Wizards guard's path from lottery pick to convicted killer demonstrates how quickly legal firearm ownership can spiral into deadly criminality. Crittenton's relationship with guns began in Atlanta's high-crime environment, where he navigated gang influences from youth while excelling at basketball. Unlike hobby collectors or hunters, his firearm ownership reflected urban survival instincts and the street credibility demanded by his environment. Drafted 19th overall by the Lakers in 2007 out of Georgia Tech, Crittenton's NBA career was brief but eventful. Traded to Washington before his rookie season, he played 3 years there while legal firearm ownership provided what he viewed as necessary protection amid perceived threats from gambling debts and street associations. The December 2009 locker room confrontation with Gilbert Arenas transformed Crittenton from promising prospect to NBA pariah. When Arenas placed 4 unloaded guns on his locker chair as a prank response to previous threats, Crittenton escalated the situation by drawing his own loaded semi-automatic handgun, racking the slide, and pointing it at Arenas from close range. The standoff terrified teammates like Karen Butler and JaVale McGee, who fled to the training room as the confrontation lasted several terrifying seconds before de-escalating. No shots were fired, but the loaded weapon in NBA premises violated every conceivable league policy. Both players received indefinite suspensions, with Crittenton ultimately getting 50 games that ended his season. He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor weapons possession and received 3 years probation, but the incident effectively ended his NBA viability. Waived by the Wizards, he played briefly overseas before the events that would define his legacy. The tragic culmination came on August 19, 2011 in Southeast Atlanta, when Crittenton's firearms ownership crossed the line from protection into deadly violence. Driving with his cousin Douglas "Zip" Gamble, he targeted rival gang member Joran Perry over a $3,000 drug debt dispute, wielding handguns in 2 separate shooting incidents. In the first shooting near Selig Drive, Crittenton fired multiple shots from a semi-automatic handgun at Perry's car, wounding a passenger in the arm. Minutes later on McDonough Boulevard, he chased Perry again, firing from his vehicle in a desperate attempt to settle the street dispute through violence. The second shooting's tragic consequence forever changed multiple lives. A stray bullet struck 22-year-old Julian Jones, a mother of 4, in the back while she held her 10-month-old son in a parked car at a gas station. The bullet pierced her heart, killing her instantly as innocent crossfire claimed another victim of street violence. Crittenton fled to Los Angeles, joining the Bloods for protection and attempting a music career under J. Crit, but an FBI manhunt ensued. Arrested at LAX with fake identification in September 2011, he faced murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault charges that could have resulted in life imprisonment. In April 2015, Crittenton pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter for Jones's death and aggravated assault, with the murder charge dropped as part of a plea agreement. He received 23 years in prison plus 17 years probation, serving at Rutledge Correctional in Georgia until early parole in 2023. The Netflix documentary Untold Shooting Guards explores Crittenton's story as a cautionary tale, featuring his reconciliation with Gilbert Arenas and expressions of remorse to Julian Jones's family. Both men framed the 2009 incident as a crossroads that led to dramatically different outcomes. As of 2025, Crittenton resides in Atlanta under strict probation, founding Next Level Boys Academy to mentor at-risk youth about avoiding his mistakes. His story represents the darkest possible intersection of NBA fame, street culture, and firearm violence, a reminder that legal gun ownership can quickly spiral into tragedy when combined with poor decisions and dangerous associations. Draymond Green. Draymond Green's relationship with firearms represents a more measured approach to Second Amendment rights among NBA stars, emphasizing legal ownership and responsible carry without the flashy displays or tragic incidents that marked his peers. The Warriors' defensive anchor has been vocal about his concealed carry license while criticizing reckless gun behavior among younger players. Green's views on firearms trace back to his Saginaw, Michigan, upbringing in a working-class family where self-defense was emphasized amid urban challenges. Unlike collectors or hunters, Green frames his ownership as practical protection rather than hobby, similar to Karl Malone's utilitarian approach, but without the hunting emphasis. In a May 2023 podcast appearance, Green explicitly confirmed his legal status. "I have a license to conceal carry. I 100% support the right to own and carry guns." He tied this to legal realities in states like Michigan and California, emphasizing training and discretion over display. A stark contrast to Ja Morant's Instagram Live incidents. Green's most controversial firearms moment occurred during a July 2018 goodwill visit to Israel, where he participated in police training sessions and posed with assault rifles at the Gaza border. Photos and videos showed him grinning while handling an M24 sniper rifle and other military-grade weapons, drawing criticism from activists who accused him of glamorizing militarism amid Palestinian tensions. Green defended the Israel experience as cultural exchange rather than political endorsement, telling media, "I'm just experiencing, it's fun." The incident highlighted his comfort with firearms beyond personal handguns, though no league action followed since it occurred during official diplomatic activities. During the 2023 Ja Morant controversy, Green positioned himself as a voice of reason, supporting legal carry while decrying social media recklessness. "It's not illegal to have a gun in many places. People don't know if he had a license. Stay away from Instagram Live." His measured response reflected years of experience navigating NBA politics and media scrutiny. Green's approach to firearms ownership emphasizes legal compliance and discretion. Reports suggest handgun ownership for personal security, likely including popular concealed carry models like Glocks, acquired through proper legal channels with background checks and training requirements. Unlike the massive arsenals of Gilbert Arenas or the performative displays of Kaman, Green's firearms philosophy centers on practical protection without exhibition. His criticism of playing with guns on social media positions him as a mature advocate for responsible ownership in a league increasingly wary of firearm controversies. The contrast between Green's measured approach and younger players' impulsivity became stark during Morant's suspensions. While Green faced no league discipline despite his Israel photos, critics noted potential double standards that favor established veterans over rising stars making similar mistakes. Green's evolution from intensity-driven player to thoughtful commentator extends to his gun advocacy. His 2025 reflection on personal growth included firearms responsibility. "I've grown. Protection is key, but control matters." This maturity distinguishes him from peers whose gun ownership became career-defining controversies. As the NBA continues grappling with firearms issues among its players, Green represents a model of legal ownership combined with public discretion, supporting Second Amendment rights while avoiding the pitfalls that have derailed other careers. Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins embodies the intersection of NBA stardom and rural American gun culture, representing a generation of players whose firearms ownership reflects deep-rooted hunting traditions rather than urban protection needs or collector obsessions. The former Celtic Center's country boy persona was built around legitimate outdoor pursuits that shaped his entire worldview. Perkins' passion for hunting began on his grandparents' farm in Nederland, Texas, where he was raised after his mother's tragic murder when he was 5 years old. The shooting death, committed by a family friend, instilled early awareness of firearms dangers while simultaneously emphasizing their necessity for family protection in rural environments. His grandfather introduced young Kendrick to outdoor activities that blended farm work with hunting small game, using shotguns for rabbits and ducks before progressing to rifles for deer as a teenager. In his 2023 memoir, The Education of Kendrick Perkins, he described this foundation. Growing up country meant knowing the land, the gun, and respect for both. Unlike urban players who carried for protection or collectors who pursued quantity, Perkins maintained hunting as sport throughout his 14-year NBA career. His modest collection, estimated at 5-10 pieces, emphasized utility over display, featuring practical choices like Remington shotguns for waterfowl and bolt-action rifles such as the .30 06 for deer hunting. Perkins frequently incorporated hunting metaphors into his ESPN commentary, using his expertise to describe basketball strategy in outdoor terms. During the 2025 playoffs, he famously likened the Minnesota Timberwolves defense to hunting. I knew rabbits, I knew ducks, I knew anything deer could get hunted. I didn't know wolves could be hunted the way they get hunted. His hunting passion extended beyond casual recreation to serious education and safety advocacy. On Road Trippin' Podcast, Perkins opened up about family protection post-death threats from 2021 media controversies. As a black man from Texas, guns are for hunting and keeping your family safe, nothing more. I teach my boys that. Perkins distinguished his hunting-focused ownership from NBA gun controversies, particularly during Ja Morant's 2023 incidents. That's not protection, that's stupidity. Own guns right or don't own them. His criticism reflected traditional hunting values that emphasize responsibility, training, and appropriate usage contexts. The ESPN analyst's stance on gun violence balances Second Amendment support with calls for reform. Following the 2022 Uvalde shooting, Perkins delivered an emotional rant on First Take against politicians. My rifles hunt deer, not kids, advocating for background checks while defending sporting use. Perkins' hunting enthusiasm connects to broader mental health advocacy, particularly during high-stress periods of his media career. On the Young Man and the Three podcast, he tied outdoor sports to psychological well-being. Hunting clears the head. Rifle woods, peace for your family. His approach to firearms education emphasizes family tradition and safety training, teaching his children proper handling through progressive skill development similar to his own rural upbringing. Unlike players who faced legal troubles, Perkins maintains concealed carry permits and legal compliance. Across Texas and other states, the contrast between Perkins' traditional hunting culture and modern NBA gun controversies highlights cultural divides within professional sports. His insanity lies in openly discussing firearms in an increasingly gun-shy league environment while maintaining respect through emphasis on sport, family, and responsibility. As debates over athlete gun ownership continue, Perkins represents a bridge between rural American traditions and urban professional sports, advocating for responsible ownership while respecting the cultural context that shape different players' relationships with firearms. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal's firearms ownership reflects the unique security challenges faced by globally recognizable superstars, combining practical protection needs with his post-retirement law enforcement roles. The Hall of Fame Center's collection serves multiple purposes: personal security, professional requirements as a reserve deputy, and advocacy for responsible ownership through public safety campaigns. Shaq's familiarity with firearms began in his Newark, New Jersey childhood through his military stepfather, Philip Harrison, an Army sergeant who instilled discipline and self-reliance. Harrison's influence extended to firearms training, with Shaq crediting him for real pressure lessons that emphasize responsibility and proper handling. As a celebrity facing stalking incidents and death threats throughout the 1990s, Shaq pursued law enforcement credentials post-1996, becoming a reserve deputy in multiple jurisdictions including Los Angeles County, 2002, Bedford County, Virginia, 2005, and Doral, Florida, 2015. These roles required firearm certification and regular qualification with Department-issued weapons. Shaq's collection emphasized utility over display, featuring handguns suitable for concealed carry and rifles for home defense. While exact details remain private, unlike more publicized collections, estimates from law enforcement peers suggest 10 pieces legally acquired through FFL dealers with proper background checks. His deputy status provides unique insight into firearms training and safety, often referenced during his TNT analyst duties through gun-related humor and metaphors. During 2023 Ja Morant coverage, Shaq quipped about clips and loaded decisions, while emphasizing the importance of secure storage and responsible handling. Shaq's most significant firearms advocacy involves gun buyback programs, where he partners with police departments to remove unwanted weapons from communities. His 2024 collaboration with Dallas County Sheriff's Office collected over 300 firearms, with Shaq personally funding purchases and emphasizing theft prevention. 200K guns stolen yearly, lock yours up. The contrast between Shaq's responsible ownership and problematic NBA gun incidents positions him as a voice for reform within sports culture. His Right to Carry Duty to Secure PSA campaign warns about unsecured firearms while supporting legal ownership, a balance that reflects his law enforcement perspective. Shaq's firearms philosophy centers on protection and service rather than recreation or collection. In interviews, he affirms ownership for family security while condemning reckless displays. "I have a right to protect my family," but adds, "Own guns? Fine, but secure them for kids." His post-retirement advocacy extends to community partnerships with organizations like the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, where he promotes gun safety education and theft prevention programs across multiple states where he maintains deputy status. Unlike collectors like Gilbert Arenas or hunters like Karl Malone, Shaq's firearms serve specific security and professional functions tied to his celebrity status and law enforcement roles. His approach emphasizes training, legal compliance, and community safety over personal enthusiasm or display. The evolution from basketball dominance to security advocacy reflects Shaq's understanding of firearms' dual nature, tools for protection when properly handled, but sources of tragedy when misused. His campaigns aim to reduce both accidental shootings and criminal access through education and buybacks. As debates over athlete gun ownership continue, Shaq represents a model of celebrity firearms advocacy that prioritizes public safety while defending constitutional rights, using his platform to promote responsible ownership rather than sensational displays or controversial incidents. Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes' relationship with firearms reflects the complex intersection of NBA enforcer culture and street survival instincts, emphasizing protection and discretion while warning against the social media visibility that has destroyed other players' careers. The former Lakers and Warriors forward's comments on gun culture reveal deep understanding of both the necessity and dangers of firearm ownership. Barnes' perspective on guns stems from his Sacramento upbringing in a working-class urban environment where self-defense was a survival reality amid gang influences and family struggles. Raised by a single mother after his father's incarceration, he learned early that protection often meant taking responsibility for personal safety. Unlike documented collectors or hunters, Barnes has never publicly confirmed specific ownership, but his rhetoric suggests practical familiarity with firearms through NBA peer scandals and street culture exposure. His comments frame guns as tools for protection rather than status symbols or recreational equipment. Barnes' most notorious incident involving potential violence was the 2015 Derek Fisher confrontation, though no firearms were involved. The road rage incident saw Barnes drive from Sacramento to Los Angeles to confront Fisher at his ex-wife's home, resulting in a physical altercation that included punching and chasing with a red Solo cup rather than weapons. The incident highlighted Barnes' volatile approach to conflict resolution while demonstrating restraint in not escalating to deadly force despite his reputation for street connections. Critics like Gilbert Arenas mocked it as soap opera, but Barnes framed it as family protection without mentioning firearms. Barnes frequently addresses gun culture on his All the Smoke podcast, using NBA incidents to stress discretion over display. During Ja Morant's 2023 strip club flash, Barnes told TMZ Sports, "Don't snitch on yourself. Post a gun on Lev, you're begging for trouble." His most revealing comments came during podcast discussions about peer gun stories, laughing about athletes hiding weapons in cars while emphasizing, "Fame brings threats. Arming up is smart, but smart means unseen." The context suggests personal experience without direct admissions. Barnes consistently advocates for legal carry while criticizing NBA enforcement inconsistencies, particularly regarding racial disparities in punishment. He contrasted Morant's 25-game suspension with past leniency for white players like Chris Kaman, tweeting, "Don't tell on yourself with guns online." His broader philosophy links personal safety to systemic issues, telling the Outkick podcast after a 2023 altercation, "Threats come with the territory. Personal safety first, no escalation." Barnes supports legal carry but emphasizes training and concealment over confrontation. Unlike players who face firearms charges, Barnes' legal troubles center on assault without weapons. His 2010 domestic arrest, 2012 traffic violations, and 2017 nightclub assault plea all involved physical confrontation rather than gun violence, suggesting restraint despite his enforcer reputation. Barnes' current perspective as an ESPN analyst and social justice advocate emphasizes responsible ownership without specifics about personal holding. California's strict storage laws align with his discretion emphasis, while his advocacy work focuses on violence prevention rather than gun rights. His All the Smoke interviews often revisit firearms topics through guest experiences, positioning him as a bridge between street culture and mainstream sports commentary. Recent episodes emphasize mental health and safety over weaponry, reflecting maturation from his volatile playing days. The evolution from bad boy enforcer to thoughtful commentator represents Barnes' understanding of firearms' complex role in athlete culture, necessary for protection in high-risk environments but potentially career-ending when publicly displayed or criminally misused. As NBA gun debates continue, Barnes provides a voice for responsible arming that acknowledges both necessity and danger, advocating for discretion and training while warning against the social media visibility that has destroyed promising careers. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.